Mother Mountain Loop Trail in Mount Rainier National Park is in Washington. This park was established on March 2nd, 1899, and is the fifth national park in the United States. This park sees roughly 1.5 million visitors per year, and that was the 2018 numbers. I bet they're down this year for obvious reasons. And Mike, you've actually hiked Mount Rainier, and more so, parts of the trail that this gentleman was on. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, back in 2016, a group of us did a couple-day hike in Mount Rainier, and from previous episodes, if you remember, we actually had to cut our hike off early due to some extreme weather we were actually experiencing up on the mountain, and we're pretty concerned about exposure and hypothermia. But yeah, we were on a section of the trail that he allegedly was hiking, and we can get into more of that in a little bit, but it's an amazing park. I recommend it to everybody that gets out to Washington to at least visit it for a day and do some day hikes if you can.
Yeah, I definitely want to get out there. Did you know that Mount Rainier wasn't the original name for the mountain?
I did not.
So several Native American tribes call the mountain variations of Tacoma or Tahoma, which means the source of nourishment from the many streams coming from the slopes, which that's incredible that you get all that out of like one word. But yeah. That's what it was, Tacoma or Tahoma. And then Captain George Vancouver sailed into the Puget Sound in 1792 and named the mountain after his friend Peter Rainier, who served as a Royal Navy officer in the Revolutionary War. So that's where it got its name.
I wouldn't be shocked if in the next 20 or 30 years the mountain gets renamed.
I'm sure it will. They're renaming everything.
I know that's controversial probably for a lot of locals and people that live around there, but it's not unheard of. I believe there's been mountains in Alaska that have been renamed to their original Native American names, so I wouldn't be shocked.
Obama had that renamed or pushed to have it renamed.
I wouldn't be shocked, if years from now that Mount Rainier actually is renamed to maybe Mount Tacoma or Mount Tahoma, but just my 2 cents.
Honestly, it would make sense. I mean, it was just some captain who sailed in an area like, that mountain's now this.
Yeah.
Like it already had a name, but whatever. Right. Did you know that Mount Rainier is the most glaciated peak in the contiguous United States with over 25 named glaciers?
I did not know that, but once you visit Mount Rainier, you'll see that.
You can see why.
It's no surprise.
So there's just a couple other facts about Mount Rainier. There are 6 Native American tribes that share deep history with Mount Rainier, and I am going to do what me and Mike do best and butcher names. But the Nisqually, the Puyallup, the Sequexin Island, the Muckleshoot, Yakama, and Cowlitz all maintain relations with the park. So those tribes are still working with the park. And archaeological evidence traces indigenous use of the region back to 9,000 years. So they have been settled there for quite some time. And climbing Mount Rainier is popular, but it's very, very strenuous. And as you said, Mike, and as we see lots of stories coming out of it, the weather can be a very, very determining factor of your success. So each year, thousands of people attempt to reach the top of Mount Rainier, which rises a little less than 3 miles high and is less than half succeed. So you get about 50% success rate because climbers are faced with challenges of the vertical elevation gain of over 9,000 feet in just a short 8 miles. And the first person to actually do it was an American, or the first American to do it that we know of, Jim Whittaker, successfully climbed Mount Everest, trained domestically for the summit in the rugged conditions of Mount Rainier. So basically, he was the first American to climb Everest. He chose Rainier to train to do that. That's how rugged and strenuous it can be.
It's a tough climb.
Yeah.
I don't know it personally. I've never done it.
I would love to, but yeah, from what I understand, it's not a hike. And the hikes can be hard. When I say hike up a mountain, it's difficult. But this one's technical, meaning you have to have, your use of ropes and knots, and you have to be proficient at them. You can't be a beginner. So the park also offers over 260 miles of maintained trails for the enjoyment, with some ranging from a few miles to over 20 miles. The 93-mile-long Wonderland Trail was used over 100 years ago by patrol officers and firefighters and was the first trail in the park that fully encircled Mount Rainier. Now, Mount Rainier is what's called a stratovolcano with the potential to erupt again, so it is not dormant. So Mount Rainier's steep cone-like shape was formed by layers of lava flows and ash clouds over the long period of time. The most recent eruption was a small summit explosion sometime between 1820 and 1850, and scientists fear the next eruption could be larger than the one in the 1800s. Yeah, that would scare me, of hiking on there just after Mount St. Helens with those the people that lost their life that were camping. Yeah. Like, if you're in the blast zone, there's literally nothing you can do.
Yeah, if you're up on the mountain in one of the campsites and it blows, I feel bad. I feel bad for you.
Yeah, that's not a place you want to be.
No.
Weather patterns at Mount Rainier are strongly influenced by the Pacific Ocean, elevation, and its latitude. So the climate is generally cool and rainy, with summer highs in the 60s and 70s, while July and August are the sunniest months of the year. Rain is possible any day and very likely in spring, fall, and winter. Wet, cold weather can occur any time of the year, although late July and August are generally the driest and warmest times of the year. Summer can also be wet and cool. So those are probably the best times to climb when you're not going to get dumped on. Snow does remain at the 5,000 to 8,000 feet elevation well into mid-July. So for the elevation, it goes up to 14,410 feet. And as we said before, there's numerous glaciers, active steam vents, and periodic earth tremors, to scare you while you're up there. And just an idea of some of the animal dangers, there's cougars, black bears, mule deer, elk, mountain goats, and in total, they say there's 63 species of mammals, 16 species of amphibians, and 5 species of reptiles. So it's very big, very diverse ecosystem for a mountain. So,
yep.
The last thing I'll talk about is just part of what could be something that would cause problems. And the biggest thing is exposure, if you could expect. Yeah. Blizzards can kick up really fast in the winter months, making hiking or climbing pretty much impossible. So it's usually better to camp and wait for clearing weather than to continue and risk becoming lost. So you have the risk of hypothermia, frostbite, and other things related to, extreme cold weather, hiking, and camping.
Yeah, and I would add to that in the springtime that you have there's a lot of rivers in Mount Rainier National Park, and with all those glaciers and snowmelt, you're going to have a lot of swollen rivers, and being swept away by one of those rivers is a real danger. And the National Park Service advises you not to cross a moving body of water if it goes above your knees. I would say even at knee level, it can get difficult crossing rivers.
Yeah, depending on the speed. And we've talked about this several times in the podcast, but...
And how far you have to walk, like if it's a narrow river.
Yeah, moving water, people, I think, who don't hike don't underestimate the power of water, and even if it's not like a raging rapid, but like there's tragic stories of people who get just kind of swept off their feet, but they have their big backpack on and they will get caught in a strainer point and they'll drown because they're tangled up. So that's like the big even if it's a slow stream, anytime I cross water, backpack off, and there's a rope if I can get one.
Yeah, and in addition to the issues with rivers, there are year-round snowfields on Mount Rainier, and these are made up of compacted ice and snow, and there's rock outcrops. And this happens around, the 7,000 to 8,000 feet area, and crossing these during bad weather can be deadly. So we'll cover some of the cases that this has happened on, but you can get really turned around, lost, and up at that elevation with the exposure risk, it wouldn't look good for you. So if you ever hiking in Mount Rainier, cross those snowfields in good weather.
Yeah, that's scary. Well, actually, what I'm going to talk about now this will just hammer home how dangerous and busy it can be.
I was shocked by this, Joe, when I was doing the research that it was a pretty bad year for Mount Rainier.
Yeah, they said they tallied a record number of searches so far this year. And if you think about it, this is the year of the pandemic, so it shouldn't have been as busy, but they had to do over 60 searches. And this is park rangers told a local news station. Some of the stories are Vincent DJ, 25, an Indonesian student living in Seattle, was reported missing on June 19th after he failed to return home from a hiking trip to the park. A search has failed to turn up any sign of DJ, officials said. So that's another guy that we might end up doing an episode on. On the 29th of June, the body of Matthew Bunker, 28, was discovered in the park after he was reported missing by his climber partner on the 19th. Officials said the climbing partner told them he became separated from Bunker as they descended the snow-covered 10,400-foot Thumb Rock on the north flank of Mount Rainier. So they were together and just got separated, and he unfortunately lost his life. On August 4th, rescuers found the body of 27-year-old Tala Sabag, who had been reported missing on June 22nd. Sabag's body was found off a trail in the park's Paradise area near the south slope of Mount Rainier. So that's, again, someone who probably just succumbed to the elements out there and on a normal hike.
In the summer.
Yeah. September 2020, 27-year-old man Alex Fitzgerald, who was hiking down Mount Rainier from Camp Muir, became disoriented and died in whiteout conditions on the mountain, while his companion managed to survive with the help of other hikers. So that's a big one, and we'll talk about it in an upcoming Patreon episode about personal experiences. When it gets snowing on a big mountain, it can be a little scary when you can't see anything. Yeah. And I've been through that one time, and I have a unique story to tell. So if you want to hear it, sign up for Patreon. On November 3rd, 2020, the bodies of two men were found, both ages 29 and 34, with what appeared to be self-inflicted gunshot wounds. So that seems obvious that it wasn't necessarily a park accident.
No.
And then the last one, on November 7th, Michael Lipinski became lost amid freezing whiteout conditions in Mount Rainier National Park, went missing the evening of 11/7 and was found late Sunday 11/8. And we